Hi guys, welcome to another podcast episode of Complex Like Wine, the podcast where we talk about complicated things and improve over time just like wine does. I have an in-person guest, which I haven't been able to do in a long time, Spencer, and we're gonna have a really interesting conversation today, which I'm really excited about, and so thank you for coming.
It's gonna get real.
It's gonna get real.
And weird. And gross. But fun.
It's gonna be very non-candid, or no, very candid and just raw.
Non-candid.
Exactly.
Some nice, very edgy and insightful dialogue about the fact that I'm paralyzed. Do you have like listeners that are audio only?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, if you're listening on audio, I'm a total crippled bastard. Maybe that's harsh.
If you're watching on YouTube, then yeah, you can see for yourself how we have it set up today.
Yeah, I jacked up the entire setting just so I could be here because I'm that way.
He's in. What did you say earlier? You're embracing the diva.
Yes,
the diva
yeah.
lifestyle.
It's made me a diva. I have to tell people what to do all the time. Doors open for me all the time. I know what it's like to be like an attractive female now. You could say, "Oh, let me get that for you." You know, it's really nice. People come running across the coffee shop just to get the door, which I actually am not the biggest fan of, but like that happens. It very much happens.
And we'll be able to get into all of the do's and don'ts etiquette when...
Is it too early for me?
Oh, no. Yeah. So before we get into the whole conversation, again, this week's wine, another Italian. It's called the Rosso Veneto, and it is from Topeka, I think. So...
It smells so good.
Yeah, it's a I'm not drunk yet, I swear. A Venetian wine, and it doesn't have much information on the label, like the description and all that. So I guess we're gonna have to see that for ourselves. But it's a Bocalo, so if you're on YouTube, you can see the bottle. But yeah, we have 2 big glasses. So cheers.
If you drink this, maybe you won't slur your words as much.
Maybe.
It'll have the
I'm
opposite
hoping.
effect.
Yeah. Cheers.
I definitely swallowed way too soon.
I really like it.
I'm not the best at wine descriptors, but yeah, it's good. I don't know if it's bringing out the toasty or whatever.
I think it's definitely not dry. It's a bit sweet because this is just a red blend, so it's not a specific type of red. But
Yeah, it isn't as it's not very sharp.
No, but I think it's like a good everyday casual type of red if you're into that.
Yes, this is like we were saying earlier, this is a mom that says I'm bad kind of wine.
I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna be such a bad mom tonight.
I'm gonna have a wine like as soon as I wake up.
The mommy juice.
Yeah. This is mom's beverage. That's why we put it on the counter. When you're old enough, you can have some of it too. Wow, mom, must taste really good. Did you, when you first drank alcohol, did you expect it to taste good?
No.
I went in I guess I had understood that like it tastes like pee or whatever when I had some beer, but like I think there's like that weird, they always show that in like cartoons, like a kid drinking for the first time and they go, ew, it tastes so bad. But yeah, that's definitely kind of the experience I had with wine, where like I was expecting there's a little tiny fly here.
Oh, almost got it.
Almost. Well, he'll be around some more.
Yeah,
we can interview him.
Oh, perfect. What it's like to be a little gnat fly.
Yeah.
Well, how Spencer and I met is from actually film school.
I was supposed to introduce myself.
Yeah, no, but
I'm not drunk either.
But yeah, this is Spencer. We went to school together. I'll let him introduce himself, and then he has a lot of really good stuff to talk about and share with us. So I'm going to let you have the floor.
It's so good. I am just the best guest. That's what I've been told on the other podcasts I was definitely on. Zaire and I met in film school at La Sierra University, or am I not supposed to dox?
Oh no, you're good.
And we definitely connected over watching, and we would you, me, and a couple other people, like, I mean, 2 or 3 times at least, because the film people would like hang out in like spurts, and then we would all go off and do our own thing. But we hung out a lot of times watching movies in the special lounge room. I think we watched I remember we watched Silence of the Lambs?
Yes.
Didn't we? Yeah.
Yes.
Because we had to for a class. And then we were like, we're gonna watch Red Dragon afterwards.
Yeah.
And we said it so many times, we never
we never
did. Because I was always like, guys, you gotta watch Red Dragon, it's so good. I rewatched it. It's not as good as I remember, but it's still pretty good. But yeah, like I just remember every time we were like, oh, we're totally gonna watch it, or we're gonna watch it tonight, and then we'd be like, nah, never mind, we're not gonna watch it. But yeah, no, we worked on a couple projects together.
Mm-hmm.
I helped with like a little bit editing on the Paradise one.
Oh, Escape from Paradise.
Escape from Paradise.
That was my first short film,
mm-hmm.
by the way.
and it looks amazing. Holy shit! I was like, I was like, oh man, I'm not a good cinematographer. I gotta get better at cinematography when I was like looking at your shit, because I feel like at La Sierra there was kind of like, especially like when I first got here, there was kind of like a competitive nature between all the film students. Like we kind of were all trying to like but we were always friendly. There was never like a moment where we were like, it kind of sucks, and like no shade or anything, but we were always trying to outdo each other. It really felt like, and a lot of my video projects never finished whatsoever, but I was always telling everyone, I was like, you all should watch Zyra. Like Zyra's probably, out of all of us, is probably going to be doing something like actually cool, while the rest of us are going to go make shitty commercials for like mattress companies or something. But yeah, no, we like to talk about movies and shit, and we also like we worked on stuff. But I just always was really impressed with you. So anyways, there's my compliment Zyra moment. Now you go with me. No. But and then I guess I should explain the paralysis thing too. So later down the line, like right around when COVID hit, I took a break off from school because I didn't expect them to do online school very well. And also I just wanted to take a break to analyze like what I was doing with school and stuff. And, COVID gave me like kind of an excuse to do that. And one of my friends, a good friend, who I'm still good friends with, we can get into that later, he invited me to go up to Washington to hang out with his parents. I had met him in Walla Walla and transferred, which is in Washington. And for those who don't know, it's got a really bizarre name, Walla Walla. But we both went to the same school in Walla Walla, and he did a radio show. So we were really good friends. We both liked production type stuff and music. Let me just interrupt myself to take a swig. And he invited me and one of our friends to go up to Washington. I said that already. And while we were driving up there, or before they came to pick me up, one of the tires got flat, and we decided to put the spare on, but the spare was just a donut spare, like one of those small ones which the worst thing ever. The fact that they still make these is kind of whack. And they don't necessarily fit the car. Like they're not the size of any of the other tires, but they're just there so you can drive it to a place to get it fixed. So I got into the car thinking we'd literally in my driveway put the spare on. And as we left, I was like under the impression that we were going to go get it changed. And I was just kind of in the car, and then pretty soon we're driving for like a pretty long time. And I realized, I was like, oh, we're about to get into the part driving up through like Central California.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I've driven this several times to go up to like Northern California with like to see my relatives and stuff. So I recognized, I was like, we're not going to have anywhere to get the car fixed like after this. And I don't know why that didn't freak me out, because there was even like times when we were driving where the car just like kind of like jittered and shit. And so I don't know why I didn't say anything. Like I knew that it was like sketchy, but I had that kind of like, you know, youthful 20s. You know, they say that like the death rate during the 20s goes way up because people have they have newfound freedom. They have like, you know, they haven't been hit with reality in certain senses, and which is definitely the case here. And so I just kind of had that moment of just being like, which no one ever like, you know, I don't know if there's any way to teach this out of people, but they should find a way to get it out of them. But I had this moment of just feeling like it'll be okay. Like there's like, what's the worst that could happen? And we're driving, we stop to get, I'm sitting in the back seat, right? We stop to get food at like a Subway. And my friend who was sitting in the back seat, or he was sitting, sorry, my friend who was in the front seat, I was like, hey, let's switch. I have long legs. I need some space.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the biggest moments of my entire life right there, and I didn't know it. And we start driving, and this is where all of the different like explanations for why we got into the accident are like kind of all three of us kind of have a different story here. But from my perspective, what I picked up on was a truck in the lane next to us like started to blink over to get into our lane as we were driving alongside it. And excuse me, I'm already getting burpy. In between the two, if you haven't driven up through California up towards like Fresno, there's these giant rolling hills in between both the lanes of the freeway. And so it's not like your usual freeway with the center divider. And the part that we were at, we just happened to be going down like a divot. And the truck next to us, so it starts blinking into our lane. And my friend, he, instead of like hitting the brakes or anything, he kind of like jerked slightly, and the car started swerving, and like it just kind of was this moment of like the exact opposite of the we're gonna be fine moment, just like, oh, we're not gonna be fine. And I can remember basically all of this, which is the scariest part of it, because you know most people like that I met in the hospital were always like, oh, I don't remember what happened. Like I went and got into the pool and then I don't remember what happened, or I did this and I don't remember what happened. I remember specifically seeing us go off the freeway, and I just kind of went, just kind of like, okay, like grab on, get in, and I man, I wish I they say that people who are like super plastered always survive car accidents. Was way too sober for this car accident, let's say, because I was stiffened up and scared, and then impact, and then it goes black, and then I'm having this dream, and it was the weirdest thing. It was like I was watching a like one of those like educational kids shows, and they were literally saying stuff like this sounds like something in an artsy film or something. They were like, so you've been in a car accident, blah, 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 blah. It was like this creepy out of body experience. And then I was like in the dream, kind of like trying to wake up. And then I woke up and my head is right here on the ground. And I'm like looking around as I'm doing so. I'm feeling glass like dig into the top of my head. And I'm like, oh shoot. Yeah, I don't feel my legs. But I wasn't going to focus on that, you know, because I, you know, usually weird because I would have nightmares when I was little that like my legs wouldn't move or something and be scared of that. concept. But at this point, I was like, maybe it's just the shock and stuff. But I probably in shock. But I was like, I could barely open up my eyes because something the airbag definitely fucked up my face, and this I still have a scar from it. And there was a little bit of a burn there. I put my hands up in front of my face when the airbag came, and when the airbag comes out, it's really, really hot, and it can blind people if it hits you in certain places. So I've always had this instinction to like cover my face and stuff whenever like I would get hit or something. And I'm pretty sure I saved my eyes from like being burned out, which is sick. We like having these peepers. And so as I was laying there, I was doing my best. I was like, I'm going to die if I don't stay awake. Like, it was, because like it could be, I definitely have like some form of concussion, right? And so I start singing songs. I start singing some hymns. I'm doing every prayer I can. And people are like, I hear people like, Spencer. And apparently they've been calling for like an hour or so. And I'm like, that my little dream felt like about 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. But as soon as I woke up, it also did feel like I was like, I just died and like I'm alive now. This is super weird, super like what nightmares literally feel like. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm here, hello, singing my songs, doing my thing. I hear them like talking. I hear everything that they're saying about me. They're like, yeah, we can't get him out. We gotta find, like, they aren't able to like break anything apart. And they got the jaws of life to like cut open the car to get me out. And they pull me out, and my body just flops down after they had to cut the seatbelt because the seatbelt did such a good job that like the metal part like melded within the like casing of the seatbelt clicker, mm-hmm. Which I guess is what it's supposed to do. And so they cut me out. My body just flops out, which becomes scarier when we later have a doctor telling us what happened. So what happened is I got a T3 complete spinal fracture. My spinal column is like pinched, so I have a little bit of hope because there's still some stuff that can get through there, and as swelling decreases over time, maybe something can get through. Hopefully, whatever. But the scariest part is that part of my neck was broken, and had I turned my neck any more than I did while I was under there, probably would not be able to move anything from my neck down. So I in a lot of ways was really, really lucky. And they took me to the hospital. I'm wigging out. I'm like completely but trying my best to stay calm. And inside my brain is just like, oh man, what's going on? And the shock is like waving over me like I'm on like acid or something. And they like pull me into the radiation room for like x-rays and stuff. And the rad tech comes up to me and she's like, hi, I'm your rad tech. My name is Karen. And I go, oh boy, isn't that unfortunate? And everybody like laughs. And I was like, oh, there's more people in here. And like, I was still being like myself. Like, and I don't know why I made that joke. Like, I was so scared. I don't know what came, but when like people laughed, I realized I was like, I have to like, keep people from being uncomfortable, because every instance of like when you're paralyzed, you kind of make people uncomfortable. It's not their fault. And it's not like something that can be, I don't even think it can be unlearned. But when, we spend so much time not being in front of people who are paralyzed, that when we are, we kind of go, whoa, oh, hey, oh, no, that's cool.
You don't
it's
know
like
how to act with people.
Yeah, it's like, and I feel like it's the same thing. I mean, I am first witnessing this kind of interaction, but like people have it when they're outside of their race, when they're outside of their like language barrier, when they're outside of their sexual orientation. Don't want to use that preference word. That word is the work of the devil. I have not ever felt like, and I immediately became like a minority essentially. because there's not many people with paralysis in the world. It's a very small amount of people. Most people just die, and so like immediately starting to realize, buying insurance a lot more expensive. Marriage, there's a lot of marriage inequality, and immediately I'm just like, man, I like have been trying to be more like understanding of people that I don't understand, and now I am the people that I don't understand, because I grew up very, very, very privileged. My parents never had any trouble with money, nothing, and I always like, I used to be like really, really staunchly like conservative because that's what my parents were, and so I had recently, before the accident, I was, obviously for like, as soon as I went to college, started to become more liberal, but the ideas and stuff and everything that I've been like trying to understand more and stuff just was given to me, just like handed to me essentially. And I hated it, like absolutely hated it, because suddenly everything that like I thought I was like, oh man, I don't want to have white privilege and shit like that. Suddenly, once it's gone from me, like now I'm like crying in tears, and so I had to think of it that way to kind of get over it and to approach like to be more humorous about things, because everything that I became after that car accident was like the antithesis of what I was before. I finally had this kind of perspective, and I can say that in like 5 other ways, I'm sure, but like, yeah, no, that's basically what happened. And, I was thinking a lot about like, had I not switched car seats, because both my friends who were in the car accident, totally fine. Nothing happened to them. And, apparently the most like deathly spot in the car is the front passenger, which is hilarious, because now the only seat I can get into is the front passenger. I can get in the back if I try really hard, but it's a lot harder. But like, I thought back, I was like, should I switch spots? But then no, I shouldn't have switched spots. My friend back there, I don't want this on him. Like, I can deal with what I can deal with. I don't know if anyone else could deal with it, and I have to, and there is like a lot of moments where it's really hard, but I can't sit and complain and stuff. We had the insurance to take care of me. We had enough money to like convert our house so that I could be in it. We have a lawyer that can help us with like insurance to get me some more money and stuff. A lot of other people, had they been in the same instance, the same situation, would be like completely fucked. Like absolutely financially. And so, I can't really like ask God to switch it back. Yeah. And I don't think I want to.
I really admire the way you're talking about this and your attitude. I want to next talk about kind of your journey mentally and then with physical therapy, because I remember when I found out you're an accident, I texted you later when you were in recovery to check in and hope you're okay, and throughout just to see how things were going. And just again, want to say thank you for trusting this platform and sitting here with me and to share with other people, because there's so many other people that maybe went through the same thing or know somebody went through the same thing, and they are still in a place where they're struggling with how to navigate it or how to be mentally with it. And I really admire, like when we talked to go over this, saying that now you're in a place you're ready to share. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. No, I think a lot of what people do when something like this happens is they can like tend to overcompensate how bad it is. They can overcompensate their friendship by like looking at it from this perspective that it's like the worst thing ever, because it's bad. Like it's really bad. Like the first few days you're like, oh, is my penis gonna work? You're like going through, you're thinking about like, I remember I called a girl that like I had sex with, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna feel it anymore. I just need to talk to you. And she was like so confused. And I like, that stuff is gnarly and whatever, but it's like that's still stuff that like it's not going to help to like talk to anyone who isn't professional. And so like when people just would reach out to be like, oh my gosh, like, are you okay? I heard something happened and I just want to check in. Just the best, most wonderful thing. When people are, they don't know me and they know me through my mom, or they saw something on Facebook and they're reaching out, like, I still have somebody, I hope they're not watching this. They're probably not watching this. I have somebody who still sends me like Facebook mom memes like every other week.
Mm-hmm.
And holy shit. Actually, if you are watching, please stop. I don't know how to tell you to stop, but it is, I don't know who this person is. Like, I never saved him in my contact because I was like, and like, it's super sweet for them to like constantly, like, for them to think, like, the first thing that I had to approach with dealing with the people who do the annoying things is like, they don't mean to be mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that like, there's a lot of people in like wheelchairs who get mad when someone does something like this. And I mean, we all get mad, but they like outwardly express it. And I get it. And I'm not going to tell them to stop because like, you're a paralyzed dude. You kind of get to be as angry as you want. But personally for myself, I just feel like, I don't want to explode on them. And they are genuinely trying to be nice because it's something they don't understand. But when people are sending me memes like over and over and over, when like people that I wouldn't be like, when my friends talk to me over and over and over and are like texting me because they're like upset, it's the middle of the night and it's like, I know them. So perfect, so wonderful. I will literally respond to any message like that, but I still have like so many text messages from so many people that I don't know that I haven't even responded to yet. I haven't even gone through the text app and seen all of them, which also when you do that, if you know somebody who's like who just was paralyzed or is literally going through anything, and you just think about like whether or not you know them on the level to like contact them, because when I had all these messages that and I didn't even want to knock it too much because some of the people I don't know that well, I'm like, that's a really sweet message. But like, I had so many text messages that buried text messages from people that I really, really care about. And I would go through and I would find something and respond to it by the time I was already outside of the hospital. Mm-hmm. And I felt so bad. I feel like I'm going like, oh yeah, you're not important in my life right now. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's something that really, really, like, I don't want to be, because there can be kind of a thing like where he's like, oh, he's paralyzed now. He does this paralysis thing. And I don't want people to think that like I'm trying to wall them out, because yeah, I want to be able to, so don't message people who like, unless you're willing to fill up their inbox with something that's actually worth their time, because digging through it to find messages was too much. And yeah, sorry, did I get into the problems with dealing with this stuff?
Well, because now I kind of have a question, if you're okay with it. I would imagine when you're dealing with so many messages bringing up something you experienced, that ends up being pretty taxing at some point. Mm-hmm. Was there a moment where you just kind of didn't want to like hear about it? And you just wanted to kind of step away from it since being in the hospital for a while? Step away from it? Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
No, I think that sorry. I can't help it.
Spencer's very funny.
People will give me the puns right in front of me and I can't help it.
Should I say roll away from it?
Yeah, roll away from it. Okay. Yeah. No, I think I try to embrace it head on as much as possible. So a lot of times it kind of helped to talk about it, I think. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to be the case with everybody, obviously. Right. Like, there is something definitely, like, when in the middle of the night, I'll have moments where it, like, I'm always a talker, always been a talker. So when I put things into words, sometimes it helps, like, it's the same as, like, when people write something down in a journal. It, like, helps you organize it and, like, compartmentalize it in a healthy way. And so when I'm talking about it, when I'm telling people stories about it, I think it helps a lot. It kind of helps me realize that, like, I'm really proud of, like, the fact that I was trying to keep my brain awake during those hours. A lot of people will say, God saved you. And yes, God, what's up, God? Yeah, thanks a lot for, like, not breaking my neck too much. That would really suck. But people would hit me with that, like, oh, the devil tried to kill you and God kept your head alive and whatever. But it's like, first off, like, some firefighters got me out, and whether or not God was with them is, like, a whole thing. And my neck, and my head and my brain and everything, I was completely in charge of that. I was taking care of that. And it is, whenever anyone asks about it, I'm just able to tell them that, like, to brag a little bit, that, like, I actually, like, did fight for my life for a little bit. And so it actually kind of feels good. And, like, I get, a good opportunity to kind of joke about it and to kind of not take it as seriously. So that part is usually good. And in fact, I think that both of my friends who were in the car with me, I think psychologically it feels like it was more hard on them than it was on me.
Oh.
And I don't know if it's because I was distracted by how much work I had to do on myself, by the bad news I was getting every now and then, and sometimes good news, and the whole melodrama of being in a spinal cord hospital. But when I would get calls and text messages from the other two guys who were in the car, and they would just I would wake up to just a shit ton of messages from my friend who was driving, and it probably affected him the most. And it really, that was some of the hardest part about this, was, like, having to, like, call them and, like, talk to them and make sure they were okay, because and also I had a psychologist, like, on the dial. I could just call up and talk to them, basically. And so, they obviously didn't go right into that. They got their like, they had to get stitches and whatever from a couple cuts or whatever. But not to detract from getting stitches, still sucks. But, like, they just went home, and then we're just like, okay, now deal with this. Now deal with what just happened. You're not able to see your friend. It's COVID. Not even my parents could get into the ICU room to see me. My dad, being a doctor, we somehow were able to find someone who knew somebody who worked at the hospital in Fresno. And my dad was able to come in and see me. So, like, I was completely walled off from everybody. It was like that. It was like I died to them, almost, on a certain level. And so that was really scary for them. And the fact that, like, especially for the guy driving, the fact that he feels like he caused this. And I don't blame him. I blame him more than I blame the guy in the back seat. Yeah. But I don't blame him, because we all got in the car. We also had jitter a couple times and everything. So, like, I don't find him at fault, other than in the legal sense. I'm not holding it against him. I'm still friends with him. I still keep in contact with him. And he's a great guy. I know that this wasn't anything of his doing, but yeah, no, I think that being asked about it is probably the best. It's my favorite part. If anybody, like, they want to do this thing where, like, they go, oh, you're paralyzed, it's cool, like, oh, that's cool, yeah, and they just want to move past it. And, like, it's an elephant in the room. You can address it, Mm-hmm. I feel like the elephant at the party, every time the elephant goes to a party, he's depressed because nobody will say hi to him. No one wants to address the big issues, and I think you kind of need to. I feel like when you walk into, like, if there could be people who are, like, they don't want to talk about it, and it is kind of a risk to ask them, I guess. But, like, I feel like everybody who, when you go to a spinal cord hospital, there's a lot of, if they do their job well, they teach you how to manage everything, and, like, being in charge of, like, how I get into a car, like, telling people how to take apart the wheelchair and stuff like that. I have to find my ownership of those moments, because the scariest part can be not being in control of my life. And so when people ask me about the accident, I think it's really good because it's reminding me that I am in control of an aspect of my life. And there's a lot of things that like I wasn't in control of when I was in the hospital, like pooping. And I was totally scared to do the pooping thing, which, I mean, I don't want to get graphic, but it involves using my finger and going into certain orifices of the body. I'm sure you figured it out. But I was so grossed out to do it. Like, it was just like, I don't want to put my finger over there. Mm-hmm. I'm a straight man. I'm not a straight man, but like I don't ever want to have anything up my butt. But as soon as like I started doing it, this really went downhill quickly. As soon as I started doing it, like I finally like felt like I was in control of that part of my body. Mm-hmm. And so if there are a lot of aspects about being paralyzed that people don't want to like talk about. People don't want to like they don't want to ask about how you shit, which is fine. They don't have to. If you ask me how I shit, you're weird. But people don't want to know that people in wheelchairs, how they go to the bathroom. They don't want to know about how they fuck. They don't want to know because like they don't have to. They don't have to think about that stuff. But the being asked about it is really nice because I can kind of talk about these lesser known aspects and feel more like a human being. Because like, if one of your broskies out there, fellas, if one of your broskies has a weird crooked penis, like, and he like is open about it, well, you're gonna want to know how does he do things with that thing? And if he's cool with telling you, it's probably like makes him feel less like a weird person than if you were to just whip it out in front of some sexy broad and she goes, ew! I shouldn't use the word broad. I just thought it would be funny. But yeah, no, I just the abnormalities about us should be kind of faced head on a little bit by us, not by others. And so I think if you ask, it's a nice, really polite way to say, would you like to explain, to give them the opportunity to take control of the awkwardness of the situation, mm-hmm. rather than making you feel like, oh, you're paralyzed? Cool. Yeah. Anyways, like that feels a lot worse, I feel like.
They try to dismiss it because they're uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not out of a politeness, it's because they're uncomfortable and yes. they don't want to deal with it. And
if you're not uncomfortable, you'll ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that this has come up about asking questions, what are some things now that have to be adjusted that you would want people to ask, or you would be happy?
Why the fuck would you ask me that? I'm just kidding.
What are things you'd want to tell people that obviously don't understand and are ignorant about it? What are things that you could inform us about?
Well, I already gave you a nice in-depth analysis of how I puncture my butthole in order to poop every morning. And in the morning, because sometimes you have late nights. Am I right, fellas? No, I think one of the biggest ones that a lot of people don't talk about is like driving. Like, I was like watching a TV show the other day, and there's a main character who's in a wheelchair, and they just showed him like he's in a van, and then he just like drives away. And I was like, I was looking at it, I was like, so first off, how is he pushing the pedal? Because we can't push the pedal, right? Mm-hmm. And they didn't have any of the stuff that they taught me about how to like upgrade your car so that you can drive it. And it was like, that was the most hysterical thing to me, that some guy just was driving a car in a wheelchair and they didn't like set anything up because they don't know. And I get it. But that is another thing, is like when people come to that, they're like, oh yeah, people in wheelchairs, they don't drive. Like they don't want to think about like the ins and outs of anything because they don't have to. And I get mm-hmm. it. But what we do is we put a little knob on the steering wheel that's illegal to anybody else. So if you need the hookup, I got you. But it's a knob that turns the steering wheel into so you can do turns with one hand, like full turns. And there's a hand control, they call it, which when you push it, it's the brakes, and when you pull it, it's the gas. And some of these you can even take apart and put like on cars that you rent and stuff. Mm-hmm. Some of them are built into the car like digitally. there's this really sick one I want to get that you don't even need the knob because you just squeeze the wheel as you're driving. And that one's really sick, but it's still a hand control for the brake. But that one looks really, really stylish in it. And it makes it so your wheel looks a little more normal, I guess. But, I don't need to be normal, do I? No, but yeah, so the driving is one thing people don't like to think about. They don't like to think about sex, which is, I just don't feel it. Like, it still works, but I don't feel it. So, and usually before the accident, I used to get more aroused, mentally, like a lady, like the ladies like to get aroused, if you know what I mean. No, that's a stereotype. We gotta squash that. But I definitely was more emotionally satisfied when it came to intercourse and stuff. But I had to learn to what I had to take medication. I take some good old ED meds. And I can just have sex normal. And if I orgasm, I feel it everywhere else that my body can still feel because it's a full body experience. And so that was kind of refreshing to learn, because it, I don't want no male impetus or anything. Impotence, imposter, among us.
A English word.
Yeah, so that was really relieving, but, yeah, it is awkward. I don't even know how, I haven't started dating yet. But I don't know how that's gonna work. I imagine most women are just imagining they're not gonna have sex with a guy in a wheelchair because of how people, the stereotype of whatever. If he's in a wheelchair, then nothing below his waist works. It's kind of that's kind of, and that was my understanding of things too. I never thought about levels of paralysis too much other than neck, waist. And so yeah, that's one thing. No one wants to think about that. Getting a job too. There are just jobs I can't have, kind of messed up, but there's a lot of jobs I still can do anything at a desk is optimal. And maybe just a lot of this. Actually, I just saw this headline this morning. Apparently Hawaii, for the first time ever, just made it illegal to pay people with paralysis under minimum wage.
Oh wow!
Or just people with disabilities in general. So they were just legally allowed to hire people for under minimum wage, which is pretty messed up. And in fact, you should look up, if you ever get a chance, all the things that are there's a long list of inequalities for people with paralysis that we just don't think of. And I don't even think it's from a prejudice standpoint. I think it's just it's not, like I said, people die, they don't get paralyzed. It's very rare that people get paralyzed. Most paralysis injuries, if not taken care of immediately, go straight to death. If I did not have this fusion, I could have moved myself in a way that would have killed me, would have murdered me. But yeah, there is a lot that I'm trying to get back around to the question you asked, because I am going off down a rabbit hole. But a lot of things that are different about us are just things that I still am figuring out about, still finding out about. I'll go into going to friends' houses, a little behind the scenes for everybody. We had to take me up a whole flight of stairs because I didn't want to compromise the filming location because it looks nice and I wanted to be part of it.
We learned, from my end, now I know kind of the beginning steps of how to take apart your chair, figure that stuff out, and you getting in the car, getting out, and everything. So definitely a learning experience for me.
Yes, yeah, no, this was an exercise. We should have vlogged that. That would have been fun.
Dang. Okay, to maybe insert a clip after.
Yeah, I'll be taking me out. Maybe I'll fall and I'll have some real content. But yeah, it's a lot of things. Going to my friends' houses, I started to learn. I was well, everybody has a step to get in their house. If I go to a party, and there's an upstairs and everyone's yo, someone's going crazy on upstairs, I'll just be cool, enjoy yourself up there. I mean, we could get me up there, but by the time it's over, I'll probably be, we'll have already made it past the first flight of stairs. So like there's a lot. I can get up curbs if I wanted to. It's very hard, and takes several tries. And by the time I'm like about to get it, someone will probably walk up and be like, "Hey, you need help?" And then I'll get it. Which that's the worst part. Like with doors, I'll go to a door.
Let's transition into the do's and don'ts etiquette. Of all of that, because for us people that are ignorant and maybe don't know, we want to help but don't know like what's polite, what's not polite, what's wanted or not wanted. Let's dive into that. Yeah,
the biggest, I think the one that you're probably going to encounter the most is someone trying to open a door. If like somebody is in wheelchairs trying to open up a door and you're on the inside and you're a really sweet guy, unless like they ask you, like don't open it. That's what I would say. Because there gets to a point where like some doors are just super heavy. Like it's honestly unfair to not even just me, just like people who aren't strong. Yeah, like there were doors to our like the church at like Wall. I remember just being like, you're like, oh hey, I want to let this girl in. She's kind of cute.
The door
can't do it.
The door to the editing sound room at La Sierra.
Yeah, that one's whack. That one is really whack. I will definitely be asking for help with that one. But the problem is that like to open up a door, you think you just use your arms. Specifically my injury, I don't have any control of my abdomen. So my belly's hanging out here all the time. I can't suck that in for the ladies anymore or fellas. But when I'm trying to open up a door, I have to it has to be with my chair. I have to be able to control, which is hard because to go forward and back, it's better to have both hands working together. If you're just doing one hand, you're all twirling all around. So I have to find a way to use my balance on the door while I'm doing my one tire. And there's a lot of places I go to over and over. We like to go to the movie theater. We like to go to, when I say we, because I don't have my hand controls yet. But we like to go to the movie theaters, and we like to go to Mod Pizza or whatever. Those are the places that I go at. Everything else I usually order at the house because I'm not trying to go out yet. And anytime I've had to use the door there, there's always been people that are trying to help me. And I am every single time I am about to master it. I am on the verge. I usually have to try twice at least. And so I'll get there and I'll be like, I finally felt how I can do this one. And then eventually I'll be able to do it with one try, right? And then as soon as I'm about to get there, someone will run up and get the door. And it's not and they're like, let me help you. And I will say, no, that's okay. And they think I'm being polite. And I am being polite, because if I really was being honest, I'd probably yell at them, because it is super frustrating. Because as soon as, I'm on the verge, I'm edging, I'm door edging, right? I'm about to get this damn door open in perfect little swoop, and then open it long enough so I can get both hands and jam myself in there. And someone runs up and interrupts that. It's the worst. But I know they're not doing it to be mean. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing. I'm gonna know, I know people's intentionality, and my temper, I can have a bad temper, but when it's with strangers and out in public, I'm being nice. And there's a lot of people who aren't gonna be that way, right?
Yeah.
And so always ask. And if somebody offers me, hey, can I carry that for you if I'm having trouble carrying something? I'm going to say, yeah, that's the sweetest thing you could say, because that's the hardest thing. Putting things on my lap, I have a really skinny lap. Things are teetering off of it all the time. It isn't like a tabletop at all. And so having anybody say hey, can I help you with that is really nice. If someone goes, let me get that for you, and then they just start doing it, it is beyond frustrating. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it kind of goes with everything. Consent is always key, right?
Yeah.
Just making sure people want what you're offering. Never go into any situation expecting that people want your help. It's the same with with literally any situation. If think somebody needs financial help, and you give them a big check, it can be the biggest insult to certain people. You need to ask if someone needs your help. I don't know how many of your listeners are big spenders. Put lots of money on people, but I think that's key with everything. And, you know, you might get yelled at by a guy in a wheelchair. I think you probably will, not with me, but I definitely, before I was always like, man, people in wheelchairs, they be cranky, don't they? And then as soon as I got in a wheelchair, I was like, I get it. I hate everybody. You all suck. You're all terrible. Oh, you're walking around on 2 legs. Oh, so cool. So original. It's like, yeah, and I can get real cranky about that stuff, or like, but I know that no one means it. Nobody's being mean, right?
Would it be safe to say that for people that are ignorant, just about anything, when in doubt, just ask?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not meaning it with like a malicious intent, just out of curiosity and just because you're ignorant and don't know, just ask.
Yeah, I like figured that out with our mutual friend Kiani. Like, I am super, super white. He is super, super not white. He's black. And I often would be like, why is it like this? Like, why is it like that? And instead of internalizing that lack of knowledge, which then turns into like, I don't get it. Why is it like that? And then it just becomes anger. And I think that's where racism comes from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then me asking him was just like, it relieves all tension and all frustration. You just have to ask. Like, and it wasn't like I was having on the verge of becoming a racist or anything. Probably made it sound like I was. But there are just certain things that like, I grew up in California, near LA. So like, I know like that like people are different, and it's not like it's something that needs to be known, but there are always going to be things that you don't understand about someone who isn't exactly like you. Mm-hmm. And asking is usually like, if anyone gets after you for asking, they're an asshole. Like that, there is no way that like asking is ever coming from a bad place.
Yeah. Like
the no stupid questions thing. Like, there can be like ignorant questions, but when someone asks it, you just explain to them like why it's ignorant and what the like.
Help correct them.
Yeah, and so offering yourself up and being vulnerable like that is like, it's the meaning of life, I would say. Mm-hmm. Like, being able to know when to be vulnerable and like being willing to be vulnerable is the key, I think.
I'm really glad that you just mentioned the when to be vulnerable and being willing, because being vulnerable is so hard, and not everybody knows that it doesn't mean you're weak to be vulnerable. It's a very courageous thing.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah,
it's stronger, I think.
Yeah, like, if you know, like, I have to be vulnerable, and it's okay to be vulnerable, like, that, I commend everyone that knows that.
Well, it's like when you get cut, right? You put a Band-Aid on it, and then, like, you don't ever want the Band-Aid, you don't ever want the injury to get hurt. So you constantly keep putting Band-Aids on it, and then by the time you take it off, it's, like, all festery and, like, kind of, like, wet and gross. And, like, there's another great visual for everybody out there. I'm just kidding. I'm hitting it out of the park with gross visual. But when you let the Band-Aid off for a little bit and you give it some air and you let it expose itself, it hardens up and it becomes stronger. And I think that's how it is with being vulnerable and honest about your position in life and like things you don't know and things that you need to know. Because as soon as you do know, it changes you for like forever from that moment. Like, as soon as I found out, like, when I would ask Kiani questions, like, as soon as I would find out like what, like, how to gauge like our friendship, we became like way closer friends. Mm-hmm. And like when I would ask these questions and when I would answer them for me, I would learn how to approach any other situations beyond that. Mm-hmm. And so I think, being vulnerable is really good. I don't know if you watched that Bo Burnham special on Netflix yet.
Not yet, but it's been on my watch list.
It kind of embraces the kind of like self-awareness and like how like it can be kind of bad, it can be kind of good, and there's a lot of like fears about certain things. You definitely told me you didn't watch it before we started filming. I'm just remembering that.
It's okay, now it's part of the podcast content.
Hey, I just worked it in there. I meant that, and I didn't just undo all of it by saying this.
Well, thank you for letting me be vulnerable to ask and being gracious for answering my questions. My hands are clammy.
It's fine. I couldn't see you over the brim, so I didn't know if it was connecting.
Is there anything else you'd want to share to people, or maybe people that have gone through an accident or experience that don't really know where they're at with it, or just people like me that are learning a lot today? Is there anything else you want to share?
I would say, yeah, if you're going through something, first things first, if it's hospital oriented, don't get mad at the people working there, because it is a job to them. And there is one part, I think everyone goes through this when a good movie that covers this kind of topic is the Merowitz Stories. That one's on Netflix as well. That's a really, really good movie. And it's about like people being in a hospital, and like when a nurse is taking care of you, you'll get really good nurses, you'll get really bad nurses. They are clocking in and clocking out. It's a job. They can't be there 24/7. They're not like your emergency to them is literally not as important, because they are living their own lives, which can be the most devastating thing, especially when I'm like looking at like, I'm like, is this place even like worth, like, are they even helping me? Like, do they even care about this stuff? And they do, but you have to like understand the separation of that kind of thing. They're not your family members, not going to drop everything. And so I would say really be nice to the people working there. If you feel like they're not meeting your like needs, look into transferring to a better place. I definitely kind of had to do that. With the first place was nice, and I loved everybody there, but they definitely weren't going to have me like very long. And as soon as they kicked me out, I wouldn't be able to go to PT because of COVID. So we were like, okay, we got to send me to a new hospital because like they're not meeting my standards. And that's another thing. This is going to sound exactly opposite of what I said, but sometimes you got to be a Karen just a little bit. You have to stand up for yourself. You cannot, if somebody is not doing something right, you got to let them know. Don't be a dick about it, but you got to let them know. And stand up, make sure you are like, no one is going to advocate for you like yourself. You need to advocate for yourself. You need to, and that comes in all situations with being in a situation like the one I'm in. You cannot just go, I guess life just goes on. You have to take care. Like I had to explain to you how to like take apart the wheelchair and stuff. I can't just be like, all right, and then like be mad at you later. Oh, you put it together wrong. No, I gotta like explain it. And so that is the same when you're in the hospital. Like you have to say I'm in pain. You have to say I pressed the button and nobody came and stuff like that, because that happens a lot. And just like when it comes to the parts that really bug you about being like paralyzed, or even like one of our friends who has cancer is in the hospital right now, is the hardest part is like just facing the hardest realities. And you need to do that like immediately. You need to break down and cry like a little bit.
It's totally okay.
Yeah, because I spent a lot of time like on social media making jokes. Like I put a video of me riding a motorized scooter and like put the Teriyaki Boys song, down in Tokyo, there's a place you know, and like I thought that was goofy. But like at the same time, like that night I was like crying my eyes out. So I'm like putting out these cute videos, and then I'm like, no one's gonna want to have sex with me. And like that, it was probably the best thing I could be doing. And like I had 2 journals. I had one that was like my happiness journal. I'd talk about good things that happened. And then the other one I called my mental toilet paper, because I would write something down in it. And it was only when I was angry would I write in that one. I'd write specifically about what was hurting me. Anytime I went back to look at it, ruined my day. Mm-hmm. So it was literally stuff that I was never reading again, because like similar to like toilet paper, you do it and then you get rid of it.
You flush it.
Yeah, flush that shit down. But it's necessary. What, you're just not going to wipe your ass? You're just going to walk around with a poopy butthole, right? I don't think so. Yeah, writing stuff down is super helpful. I had like I still have, even though my friends seem to have worse PTSD than I do, I still have, not to not to flex on them or anything, but I still have some like moments of PTSD, and like it'll just like my brain will just be like rushing, and there's nothing I can do. And so the one thing I do is I put like calming music on, I control my breathing, and I just start writing exactly what just happened. I just start having a panic attack, and it centers myself on the situation. You could literally, this could be for anybody too. Like this, I think I would recommend this to absolutely everybody. Also seeing a psychologist. That's a big one too. But just center yourself, realize who you are. I am who I am. No one else is me but me. And just think about what just happened and why it's happening. Try to figure out why it's happening. Write it down. Just seeing it written out right in front of you. And the same with mental toilet paper. You can read it as you're writing it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But like, don't read it later. But like, you get your notes out, just write, and as soon as you're done writing, it seems to work. At least for me, which is the power of it. Is actually kind of shocking with how well it works. And I literally just found that off Google. Like I was like, one time I was freaking out one night, like probably like I think it was last month almost, and like I Googled like how to. Like, because I wasn't having PTSD in the hospital, but I was like, how do I stop this? Because other times I was just writing it out. So I just Googled, I was like, how to calm yourself down. And that was like the first thing that came up. And it is honestly super helpful. So
I've never heard of that.
Google might be ruining the world by like making missile contracts and using AI in the military, and they'll probably lead to the inevitable downfall of our society. But they taught me how to calm down. So shout out Google. Shout out, who's the CEO of Google?
I don't know off the top of my head. Whoever you are.
Shout out to you. Please tear up your military contracts. That freaks me out just a little bit. I hope he was watching.
Hopefully watching.
He better be watching. It's going on YouTube,
him.
right?
Yeah. We'll tag him, put him in the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you again so much. I'm very grateful for you taking the time.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to just talk like for hours.
Yeah, I know. I've just been sitting here sipping on wine, just like, wow.
I know it's a problem. I need to be a little more gracious to people when I talk.
So, last question: what are some things you're looking forward to now? Now that are you still doing PT, or have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like most of PT. Early on was just teaching me how to like use the wheelchair, how to get in and out of it, and strengthening my arms, which they're a lot buffer than they used to be. I used to be twig arm man.
I have some yoked arms.
I'm still twiggy, but I don't know, that's not bad. Comment below if you'd go on a date with a man with a buff like that, would you? Please? No, I'm looking forward to, COVID restrictions are finally lifting a little bit, so I want to go experiment with things I used to do before, because being paralyzed during COVID really sucked, because like barely anyone can visit me. We had to like skirt the rules for anyone to come visit me when I was at the first hospital I was at, and I just want to get out there and start doing so. I went to WeHo to do a little Pride celebration. That was pretty fun. Definitely drank too much, went home and pissed myself. But, that's part of it, right? Kids, if you're paralyzed and you go out drinking, remember to set alarms to catheter yourself, because you'll pee yourself in the middle of the night. TMI. But I want to get back to some more normal stuff. I want to go to Disneyland. I want to go, see how they get me in and out of stuff. I've been thinking about that for a while.
You'll get in front of the ride.
Yes. So let's go. You know what I mean? You down?
Yeah.
Let's go to Disneyland. That's the second vlog. And yeah, I want to go try. I really want to go to Six Flags. I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually get into some of the rides, which makes me a little nervous. I don't know if you've been to Six Flags, yeah.
I've never been, because I don't like roller coasters that do the drops. Like the flips and turns, I'm down, but drops, no.
Okay, then you would like this one. There's one called Twisted Colossus, and it is a banger of it. I am literally a roller coaster nerd. Like, I look up what the best roller coasters are. I went to Cedar Point and rode it's basically a taller version of Twisted Colossus, and that one's insane. It's called Steel Vengeance or something really stupid. They all have stupid names, but they're not movies or anything. But oh my god, that ride is so good. And like this Twisted Colossus is basically like a mini version of it, and it's just like it's like a wooden roller coaster, but like it's smooth as hell.
Are you sitting or like dangling?
You're sitting, and it twists like it does. Like even though it's a wooden roller coaster, it twists all over the place.
Oh, okay.
And it's like a dueling roller coaster, but you go through it like twice, and the second time you go through it, like they sync it up so that the two roller coasters are like racing each other.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so sick. I love it. It has great airtime, they call it, so it feels like you're gonna fly out of the thing. It's so much fun. But yeah, I just wanna go try a lot of things that I wasn't able. It was nice to finally go to movie theaters. I don't, as of right now. I'm gonna try it eventually, but I've been just getting the paralyzed spot, the little wheelchair spot. But instead of just sitting in my chair, I get into the chairs because I want to recline and stuff. So I've been doing that for a bit, which it's a little hard to get out, but it's worth it because, like,
you're more relaxed than the
yeah, and it's good for my legs to have them propped up for a little bit. I don't want them pooling blood down there. And then someday we're gonna get it so we pull me up the stairs, and then I can go sit in the middle where the seats are better.
Nice.
Because as of right now, it's still a little it's a little anti-nosebleed kind of situation. But I'm happy to go see movies in theaters because I love movies. Big movie guy, obviously. Why else would I be a film major? Not just because I hate sleep and not having anxiety, or making no money. No,
that part.
That part. Well, I mean, everyone's not making money, so we're all like, we're all losers, right? I want to go to some parties. I want to hang out with boys, the fellas. And the ladies, I do have a lot. I can't really say the fellas. That's putting all my female friends at a disadvantage. It's like the ladies. But I also really love to get back to dating. But dating apps suck if you're paralyzed. They really suck.
Yeah, they don't. There's no app yet specifically for.
There's like a website.
Oh, okay.
It looks like shit. And I think it's like over the whole country. I don't think it's like like you meet people specifically online, and I don't want to get I'll tell you, I was for the longest time didn't put paralysis like photos of me being like in a wheelchair at all on Bumble and Tinder, but recently I put them on. I was keeping track. I literally did a week without, and I got about like 7 or 8 matches, right? And then I put them in, and I didn't get my first match for about a month.
Oh wow! And
it is I think part of that thing where they're like, and I get it. Tinder, like I understand this with Tinder. I'm a little more surprised with Bumble because Bumble usually has a better atmosphere to it, but like Tinder. I guess the girls just want to get plowed, See, I think they're looking to fuck.
Tinder's more for like the instant gratification. Maybe like Bumble and Hinge is more. Hinge, I think, is more effort because you have to do a whole profile and questions. But
and Tinder people are just like
swipe.
I feel like a lot of girls on Tinder, because a lot of them don't respond. And like, I think part of that is because they get way more matches than guys do, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is also they're like, oh, I feel pretty now. And I get that.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that's part of it where you just kind of on it and you see how many matches you're getting and it's just kind of like a confidence boost. Yeah. But nothing.
Cool. I'm going to go back to Instagram and post a selfie. Do I look in this photo? Okay, I got a couple swipes on it. Post it. Yeah. Bumble is cool too because like the girls have to message me. So then if like I get a match and then they don't message me, it's like cool. It doesn't like sit up there mocking me that like I wasn't able to message them or that they didn't reply.
At least you're getting people that are more seriously interested.
Yeah, and I had a match right now that I'm talking to, which is pretty cool.
Oh,
and I even like was like, because there's a couple photos where maybe you can't tell I'm in a wheelchair. And so I even was like, yeah, when I got paralyzed, like I jutted it into the conversation and it seemed to be okay. I'd love to get it back. I like went on a date with one girl that I knew from like back working at summer camp. And like, that was like the first date I went on. And like, she was like, yeah, we'll hang out again. And like, we never did. I was like, I think I scared her a little bit, cause most of the girls that are like, actually like, interested are kind of like on the religious side of things, because it's like maybe they're doing me a favor, or maybe it's because like sex doesn't matter and Jesus and stuff. But it's like I still want sex, right? Like I'm not giving up on it, right? Like it is harder now. No pun intended. It's more difficult, but like it's something that like it's necessary too. Plus, like I enjoy producing pleasure as much as I like receiving it. So like it's still an aspect that I'm interested in. So that's one thing I'd like to finally be able to experiment with this stuff. Living at my parents' house right now, of which I'm doing, but not for too much longer. Like I am like not able to do that, obviously, because they're also very, very conservative, and as of right now, still think I'm a virgin. So shout out to that, Mom and Dad. Hope you're not watching. But yeah, I want to get back to literally anything that I did before, because it hasn't been too much to like any of the stuff that I've tried to do, like going to movies, hanging out with friends, stuff that I've done, which I haven't done extensively, but the amount of times I've done it, like we got me up these stairs, it wasn't that difficult.
No.
It was like obviously more difficult than most things, but it's
all doable.
A lot of things are doable. There are quite a things that are not doable. Like I can't go running anymore. I used to love to run. Like literally right before paralysis, I was like, I'm gonna start running again. It's like God was like telling me, but not telling me, God. You could have told me a little better. Just kidding. I'm fine with being paralyzed. But yeah, I have to workouts are a lot different. I can't. I used to skip arm day. I was the leg guy. I was always working on my legs. But now it's like
it's arm day.
It's only arm day, and I'm I can't skate anymore. Like that one kills me. Like I still every now and then we'll see a skate. Like we were pulling some shit out of my brother's room, which they're using as like storage basically, because he's all out and married, and we were like pulling stuff out. We were having like a fun time, and then they're like, "Oh, Spencer, here's your skateboard," and I was like, "Thank you." And they were like, oh, and they just like realized, and they're like, "Spencer, you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine, I'm cool." But like, yeah, I had only recently gotten my ollie and pop shove it down, and like now I can't skate anymore. So I'm looking into like, there's these things you can do where you can go. Made for people with paralysis, you can go. I can't, because of my level of injury, I can't do the stuff that people do where they go on half pipes and shit with their chair. Also, because I suck and I would definitely break every bone in my body. But like I can't do that because I don't have the level. Like most of those professional wheelchair skater guys, most of them have like waist down is their paralysis. Mine is like from nipple down, so I don't have any of these good bits. So. There are definitely things I can't do, but the vast majority of things that I used to love doing, I still can't do. I can still, we're still sorting it out. I can still play my cello. I used to play cello. And there's still ways for me to do that, because my hands are fully articulate. Some people get paralyzed to a point where they can only control a little bit of their hands, and they're kind of like,
or just their wrists.
Yeah, just that. And then like they can still drive. They can still do a lot of things, but they can't like write the same way. They can write, but they just have to learn a different way. And so I a lot of times am reminded of like how lucky I really am to first off be alive, but to be injured only to a point where I can still draw. I love drawing. I can play video games still. I'm still like, now I'm fucking cracked at Apex Legends, my guys. Okay. I know I screwed it up by saying Lebens, but you know what I mean. I like play a lot better than I used to. I think it's just because I'm using my hands a lot more than I used to. And so, there's a lot of the stuff that I love to do, I can still do. And I'm really, really excited to try out. I want to go biking some more. There's like these special hand bikes that they make.
Oh, cool.
Excuse my little prepubescent voice crack. And I really want to get back to that. I'm going to be doing a bike run for like a charity coming up. one of our friends runs a charity, and he's always like, "Hey, you want to do this thing?" And most times I'm like, "No," and this time I was like, "All right, I'll do it." And not because I don't like charity, but because it's like he literally asks all the time. But I love him. I love you, Tim. And so I'm going to be doing that, and so I have to train and get all used to hand biking, which is tough. And taxing on the arms. So think about it, like it's no longer aerobic at that point.
Yeah.
Like that's like weightlifting, right? It's tough, and but I'm excited to do that. And also, I'm just stoked. I've been doing some physical therapy that is neuropathy, and it's they're finding it's a very experimental thing, and I'm the first of my level of injury to be doing it. But it's a basically uses just like a simple, almost like a massage, to get blood to flow down to my legs.
Oh.
And as it's been doing it, I've been feeling I'm not feeling full like sensation or anything, but I have been feeling like
improvement,
different kind of improvement kind of stuff. And recently, like my level of injury has a very specific thing called autonomic dysreflexia, where if I get stabbed on my leg, if some injury happens, like it'll try to send that up to my brain, and then my brain will not be able to decipher it, and so it'll send it back down, and it creates like this fever like symptoms, and I'll start to have my heart rate will go up, and if I don't figure it out and fix it, I could like have a heart attack. But since the neuropathy, I haven't had those symptoms at all. And sometimes have like...
We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, right? And I sometimes have like bumped myself and I'm just bleeding and I'm like, oh! And usually it would have been like, oh, what's going on? And then I have to go look at my whole body. I have to take all my, like, if it's bad enough, I have to get on the bed, take all my clothes off, take a mirror and just be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what happened? And like sometimes even the slightest things, like a wrinkle in my clothing underneath my butt, can cause it. But as of recently, I haven't had it at all, unless it's like super immense pain. Like sometimes I get like UTIs because I pee with catheters.
Yeah.
So shoving things down there is not the women are telling me, yeah, no duh, because
UTIs suck.
They suck. They do. And like I still have not felt what one feels like, but
you will never forget.
These like when I get them, it kind of is that fever like symptom, and it really, really sucks. But yeah, I haven't been having that as much, so I'm feeling pretty good. I want to get, like I've always said, if I get anything back, I love my bowels back, I love my bladder back, and I love my sexual function back. Well, function's fine. The sensation, that's what I'd like back. If I don't walk, who cares? Who gives a shit? Let me shit and fuck.
Preach to that.
I thought I was getting heavy.
Oh, so sorry. I thought you were like praising like handstand.
Sure, yeah.
I totally.
Lord Jesus. That would be awesome if I did like a whole sermon like that. God, let me shit and fuck, and then everyone goes, hey! Start talking tongues. That'd be awesome.
I think that's a pretty good place to close up this podcast.
Hell yeah.
Very fun note. So, lesson or message for the podcast: let's hope Spencer can shit and fuck again.
Yes, that's the lesson. Forget everything I said before. Get Spencer his shits and his fucks.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, Spencer. I've had a really good time getting to talk to you.
Yeah,
I love your energy.
Me.
You're so fun. Even when we're in college, just the stuff you would say, just your energy on set and all that. Just always been a fun guy. So
I am a bit abrasive and an acquired taste, just like wine.
Just like wine. Oh shit! Look, we tied it all together. One more sip.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. I think this is a really special one. It's nice to finally have someone in person because it's been a while. So again, this is Spencer. Thanks so much.